Grandma and the Spanish flu of 1918. What Grandma told me she did to get her family through it all. Stories from my life. How Grandma survived the 1918 Spanish flu. How Grandma made it through. Hello, y'all. I'm Dianna Brianne. I don't give advice, suggestions, information, recommendations. I am just here for entertainment purposes, okay? Well, I want to tell you the story about Grandma. Now, y'all know I talk about Grandma all the time because, well, she has been such an inspiration in my life, especially growing up. Grandma was always there for me, and she shared so many amazing stories with me on her front porch, on one of her porch swings, in her kitchen, and from her rocking chair, and from her rotary dial telephone whenever we would talk on the phone. Grandma was always telling me stories about her life. And so one time I said, Grandma, you lived through the Spanish flu, didn't you, back in 1918? She said, oh, yes. I was a young woman with babies. And I had my mama and I had my family. And she said it was really up to me to take care of everybody. And so she said, I got busy taking care of my family. And so she said, I said, well, Grandma, what did you do? Y'all didn't have all kinds of medicines and you didn't have all the treatments and all of that. She said, nope, we didn't have nothing back then. She said, we didn't have nothing but some good common sense. That was all we had, was some good common sense. And so I said, well, Grandma, y'all made it through, right? She said, yep, every one of us. She said, every one of us made it through. And I said, well, how did you do it? She said, well, there were quite a few things I did. But she said one of those things was I would make a great big pot of chicken noodle soup. She said I'd roll out my own dough out of flour and water. And sometimes if we had the eggs, I would use eggs in the mixture to make my noodles. And she said then I would drop those noodles into hot boiling water and boil those homemade noodles. We didn't have a noodle machine back then, she said. We just kind of cut our noodles on a cutting board. And I said, well, what else did you put in it, Grandma? She said, I put chicken. She said, I would boil the whole chicken, whatever, you know, the chicken pieces. When I say whole chicken, I don't mean the whole chicken. I mean, she would boil the pieces of chicken. And she said she would boil the bones with it. And she said she'd take the bones out afterwards. She said you always had to make sure you got all the bones out of there. But she said, you know what? She said it was something in that chicken, all of that chicken that was in that soup, that she believed that was part of what took such good care of everybody. She said she put vegetables in there. She put all kinds of vegetables, whatever she had on hand. But she said it was that broth. And she said, you know, she said we'd go over there and we'd stand over the stove. And she said, of course, everything was safely done, you know, because you have a pot of hot soup. So she said it was always not within reach of anyone. She said she was the one that controlled it and kept it safely on the stove. And so Grandma would say she'd go over there and she'd breathe that chicken noodle soup and the steam from it. And she said she said none of them ever got sick. Not a one of them got sick. She said power in chicken noodle soup. Now, that's Grandma's story. I don't recommend anything. That's just what she told me, is that she made chicken noodle soup all the time. She had a few other little things that she did as well, and she shared those with me. But they didn't have medicines back then, and they were very fortunate. They lived out in the country, but there were people around them. And she said a lot of people did not make it during that time. But she said they all did because she took care of them. She took care of them the best way she knew how. She took precautions, she did prevention, but she also said that her chicken noodle soup, the way she made it, however she made it, was very powerful. And so, you know, to this day, I make my chicken noodle soup just like Grandma. And matter of fact, I think I might make a great big pot of chicken noodle soup today. But remember, I don't give recommendations, advice, or anything else. I just share with you stories from my life. And this is the story of how Grandma got through the Spanish flu. Okay? Whether it was a chicken noodle soup or whether it was something else, I'll never know. But I still make that chicken noodle soup like Grandma told me. Well, I hope you like, share, subscribe to all 5 of my channels. Links are pinned to the top of the comment section below. If you connect with me, I will likely connect with you as well. So may God bless you. And if the links aren't working, just copy and paste the links and you'll be able to get to the channels that way. Thank you and may God bless you. Bye-bye. Porch, a place to relax and a place to enjoy.